Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats that will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. So, before I get started, I'm just going to warn you in advance, you will probably hear some strange noises in the background. That is because on a Sunday afternoon, my lovely neighbor has decided there is nothing better to do than to hop on a bobcat and cause as much destruction over in his yard as possible. So, I apologize in advance for that. But, I am back. I am excited about this particular tag. It's going to be a coffee brand tag video. So, I was tagged in this by Linda Booklady quite a while ago. Never got around to it, but I'm very excited about it. Each prompt is a different type of coffee, and then the prompt is based on that coffee. So, there are a lot of them. I'm going to jump into it, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, number 1, Maxwell House, a work that's good to the last drop. For this, I chose Charles Beaumont's The Howling Man. And for those of you who do not know the name Charles Beaumont, if you have ever watched an awesome Twilight Zone episode, this man probably wrote it. If you have ever watched any of the movie adaptations of an Edgar Allan Poe story, this man probably wrote that and directed it. In addition to that, he was just a stellar author. And this particular collection is very difficult to get a hold of now. But if you can find it, please do yourself a favor and pick it up. Like I said, most of the classic Twilight Zone episodes were written by him. So some of those are in here in their original story form. In addition to that, he just wrote some awesome stuff. Killer collection here. Any of his stuff is great, but this one in particular is awesome, and it's got an incredible cover. You will enjoy every moment of it. Highly suggest picking up any collections by Charles Beaumont. Prompt number 2, Folgers, a book you were eager to resume reading. Alright, for this I chose Darren Shawn's Cirque du Freak collection. This is a fairly decent sized series, and for me, I originally picked up the first one at a library when I was visiting my great-grandmother a long time ago, back as a teenager. Didn't know what I was getting into. I absolutely loved it, and I immediately wanted to go back and grab all the other books that they had in this series. Eventually, of course, as an adult, I read through them all. I loved them. What's great about Darren Shan is that he recognizes that although they are teenagers, they're also teenagers. So they are familiar with things like cursing and violence. He still does not take it too over the top, but he most definitely does not hold back. He pushes the boundaries on what a teen novel can and cannot do. And personally, as a teenager, I appreciated that. I appreciated that he was not trying to hold my hand and fluff things up for me. And that is an excellent vampire series for an adult or for a teen, for a young adult, whoever. Highly suggested. Prompt 3, Chock Full of Nuts, a work that transports you into a wealthy environment. For this, I chose a rather well-known book by a rather well-known author. This is Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. And there's no way to read this without being transported to a wealthy, decadent environment. The whole book is about this very wealthy individual and his crazy lifestyle. Bret Easton Ellis in this book, he makes it a point to put prices on everything. He talks about the $10,000 jacket he's wearing. He talks about the $8,000 shoes that this guy's wearing, and about how he'll spend $1,000 in one meal. Most people are familiar with the synopsis. I'm not going to go into it, but it's an excellent read. Really messed up though, so be prepared for some very disturbing scenes. But wealthy environment, most certainly. Number 4, Duncan, a scene-stealing supporting character. Okay, for that, I picked a quick little duology by Tim Wagner. This is the Shadow Watch novels of Night Terrors and Dream Stalkers. So, if you can see there, the main character is Audra, and the supporting character in this case is Jinx, a 6-foot-some bald, super creepy clown who is not afraid to literally tear people apart. So, although he is technically a secondary character to Audra, Jinx, without a doubt, steals the show. I feel like Tim Wagner wrote it with that purpose. Great books. Jinx absolutely steals the show as a psychotic clown that travels around with Audra, investigating crimes in this other world that's populated by nightmare creatures. Prompt 5, Wawa. A work that makes you think about New Jersey. So I ended up going with another very, very, very messed up novel. This is Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. This one is very well known. It is considered by a lot of people as one of the most extreme novels out there. I have read it, and it is not easy to get through at all. Surprisingly enough, someone made a movie off this book, which is also very difficult to watch. But the reason this made me think of New Jersey is because Mr. Jack Ketchum was born there. And Jack Ketchum is an excellent writer. His work is all very horrific, not necessarily horror, but horrific. And you kind of get a mixed bag with him. You don't know when you pick up one of his novels whether it's going to be a mystery or a straight up horror or a western. I mean, he is all over the place, but his stuff is always great. So, good job, New Jersey. You did something right there with Mr. Jack Ketchum. Number 6 is Starbucks, a writer you find pretentious but admirable. I'm going to mention 2 separate authors here, both in the science fiction category. The first is Harlan Ellison. Harlan passed away not too long ago. I think it's just been a few years now. But Harlan wrote one of my all-time favorite science fiction short stories. That's I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Harlan did some great things for science fiction, but by all accounts, he was just a major jerk. He thought so highly of himself, thought that he was just the greatest gift to writing and the greatest gift to science fiction of all time. He wasn't, but he did do some good things. I have to give him a bit of begrudging respect, but not much, because a lot of his work also kind of sucked. Another guy I want to talk about is China Miéville. Now, China does not come off as a cocky, arrogant guy, generally speaking. What makes me think of him as somewhat pretentious is the fact that his novels are just so jam-packed with advanced vocabulary that I swear to you, I almost had to read the first novel that I picked up from him with a dictionary beside me to be able to keep up sometimes. But that said, he writes some incredible science fiction. If you've never read anything by China Miéville and you are at all interested in science fiction, and you can devote a good chunk of your time to a book and know that you might not understand everything that's in it, China Miéville is your man. But he does not make it easy, so good luck to you in that regard. Number 7 is McCafe, an excellent source for world literature. This one almost had me stumped. I didn't know where to go with it, but I finally decided to go with the Big Book of Science Fiction. And I went with the Big Book of Science Fiction because in this book, there goes my neighbor, in this book, there are science fiction stories from authors all over the world, from Japan, from Argentina, from Guatemala, from Italy, just everywhere. There are also authors from all different time periods, all the way back to the very beginning when science fiction wasn't even called science fiction, up until now. And so it's really great in that regard, in that you can see the melding of science worldwide and culminating into technology that we have nowadays and that we rely on daily. And it all came about because of science fiction, because of these guys who were writing in the 17 and 1800s about things that, other people at that time, they thought they were just writing fiction. But these guys knew that one day all these things would come true. And I'd be able to do something like record this video and send it up into this mysterious, mystic cloud, and then people worldwide could watch it. Number 8, Pete's, a work that especially succeeds with its ability to craft words. And I picked Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. I picked this edition for a very specific reason, though. This is an 1895 edition of this novel. Now, the novel itself came out well before that still. So, that said, 1895, it is 2021. I can open this book up right now, read it, and enjoy the same tongue-in-cheek humor and shed the same kind of tears over particular characters that someone did back in the 1800s. And that, to me, is proof of how well written this book is. It stands the test of time, and there's a reason that Louisa May Alcott is still so well known today. So, Little Women, if you have not read it, please do yourself a favor, read it, bring tissues. Okay, number 9, Café Bustelo, a work from a Spanish-speaking country that translates well into English. So for this, I picked the book Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. And I'm just going to read a very quick synopsis of the book. A young woman named Amanda lies dying in a rural hospital clinic. A boy named David sits beside her. She's not his mother. He's not her child. Together, they tell a haunting story of broken souls, toxins, and the power and desperation of family. I had the immense pleasure of reading this before it came out. This was originally written in Spanish. The author is from Argentina, and eventually it made its way over here, translated. It is a beautiful, haunting novel. I highly suggest you guys pick it up. I'm not even going to try and tell you anything about it. It's very short, but so worth the read. Just take your time and really process what's going on. Number 10, Lavazza, a work that gives you a sense of Italy. Picking another very well-known novel here. This is Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. And he is, of course, of Italian descent. The book originally came out in Italian and was very quickly translated worldwide. Name of the Rose, first of all, beautiful name for a book title, period. But Name of the Rose is a historical murder mystery. And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail because basically, if that's your kind of thing, you're going to read it. If it's not, you're never going to come near it. But it takes place in Italy. It's an awesome novel if you're into that sort of thing. And there you go. Okay, number 11, 8 o'clock, your favorite use of a time of day in a song. So this one threw me off because this is the only song-related question on here. Everything else is book-related. So I don't really know why it's on there, but I picked a classic. It's Matchbox 20's 3 a.m. If you haven't listened to that song before, which I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't, listen to it. It's a beautiful song. I don't know what else to say, honestly. Number 12, Javalia, a writer whose works are always rich. Okay, I picked 2 for this one. One is very well known. Everyone knows him. Everyone who reads him loves him. That is Ray Bradbury. And I picked my copy of Dandelion Wine. I don't think there's anyone out there that doubts what an excellent author Ray Bradbury was. His work just transports you in a way that other people can't. I'm going to share just the first paragraph of Dandelion Wine. It was a quiet morning, the town covered over with darkness and at ease in bed. Summer gathered in the weather. The wind had the proper touch. The breathing of the world was long and warm and slow. You had only to rise, lean from your window, and know that this was indeed the first real time of freedom and living. This was the first morning of summer. So, that's all you need to know in that regard. Now, another author that I highly, highly, highly suggest, and a lot of people have not read him, which is very sad, makes me sad. Please don't make me sad. Please go out and read some Jonathan Carroll. It does not have to be this book. It can be anything by Jonathan Carroll. But Jonathan Carroll is this incredible mix of Ray Bradbury and Neil Gaiman. His novels are most often fantasy, and they are just beautiful. They are fairy tale-esque. He has that flowing linguistic style of Bradbury with just the incredible storytelling that Neil Gaiman is known for. So if you have not picked up a Jonathan Carroll, please do yourself a favor, pick one up. He is just an amazing author. His writing style is, it's so wonderful. So, next up, number 13, Chase and Sanborn, your favorite literary partnership. For this, I have picked the author Michael Slade. Michael Slade is known for writing some very brutal crime novels. Burnt Bones, Swastika, Ghoul, Headhunter, that sort of thing. They're all part of his Special X series. But what people didn't know for a very long time is that Michael Slade is not a person. Michael Slade is actually a group of lawyers, police officers, and just people who know a lot about crime in general, who work together under the name Michael Slade to publish these novels. And all the novels published under Michael Slade are just super brutal, super fast-paced, excellent crime novels, very horrific. But there you go. It's not one person. In fact, we don't even know how many people it is. We just know that it's a bunch of high-profile lawyers and criminal psychologists and things like that. So, yeah. Number 14, Martinson. Your favorite word or expression that originated in a work of literature. So I feel like I have to mention one particular author. That is Charles Dodgson, also known better by his writing name, Lewis Carroll. In this book in particular, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I need to mention this one because he came up with so many phrases that are constantly used today. Through the Looking Glass, Down the Rabbit Hole, Mad as a Hatter, things like that. They all came from this book. They all came from Lewis Carroll. But everybody knows that they came from Lewis Carroll and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Now, the one that a lot of people don't know about is the word pandemonium. Pandemonium came from John Milton and his epic poem Paradise Lost. He did not use it in the way that we use it today. He actually used it as the name of the capital of hell. But that's where the word comes from, and that's why demon is the middle part of the word pandemonium. So there you go, a little education for you. Native American Coffee, a work by a Native American author you would like to read. I really enjoy the work by Owl Goingback. Now, I know him personally. We're not great friends, but we're good friends. And in my opinion, he's always been an excellent horror novelist. Very underrated. But one book that I have not read from him that I do have on my shelf is Darker Than Night. And I actually have this one signed and still haven't read it, so I have no excuses there. But if you have not read anything by him, he's an excellent Native American author, horror novelist in particular, which there are very few of. And most people know him for his book Crota. I would suggest any of his other work, really, because this is the only one that I haven't read from him. And all of his work is pretty good. So, Owl Goingback, check him out. Number 16, Sanka. How would you go about reading works from different genres? I mean, just do it. I don't know. You know, I'm often intrigued by covers, even though they might not, be from a genre that I typically read. I'm intrigued by covers, and I just try to keep an open mind. Especially this year, I've kept an open mind, And so I have some books on my shelf that I plan to read that I typically wouldn't touch. Some romances, some classics that I don't normally lean towards. Number 17 is, what is your favorite brand of coffee? And interestingly enough, this last answer kind of mirrors my first answer. So my very first question on here, I talked about the author Charles Beaumont, and my favorite coffee currently is Beaumont coffee. This is actually the Aldi brand. For those of you who have Aldi, I highly suggest shopping there because you can get some incredible deals. You get this container of Beaumont coffee. It's all of $3, and it's some really good stuff. It is surprisingly delicious coffee, very smooth, not particularly acidic or anything like that. And that's actually what I'm drinking right now. So there you go, guys. That was the coffee brand tag. Thank you again to Linda over at Linda Book Lady. I will put your channel down below, and hopefully some of you guys check her out. She's a wonderful lady, very kind. Much like the rest of us, she's had some hard times these past couple years, but she stays positive despite that, and she has a very sort of dry sense of humor sometimes that I really enjoy. So there you go. Thank you. I appreciate you guys as always, just sticking around, checking out the video. I did say that I was going to try and get that special project that I've been working on up this weekend. That did not happen, obviously. Turns out it's way more work than I thought it was going to be. I'm not giving up on it. It's just going to take longer than I'd hoped. So, once again, I'm pushing it back. I'm not going to give you a date on when it's done because I don't know when it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. So, surprise when it does. We are so close to that 250 subscriber mark. It is going to happen in the next day or two. I know it is, and I'm very excited for it. As soon as I see it, I'm going to jump on here and we'll talk about the giveaway and have a little celebration together and all that. But guys, there's been a lot going on, and I just want to thank you again for sticking with me. I know things are a little slow on the channel right now, but man, I'm just so happy to see what has happened on here, and it makes me happy to talk to you guys in the comments, and really takes my mind off things. And so I appreciate you guys so much. I really do. I hope you know that. I'm not going to take up any more of your time today. I thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Anyone who would like to do this tag, feel free. Richard, you're a big coffee drinker. This might be an interesting one for you if you wanted to jump in there and do it. But yeah, there you go. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Good luck this week. Cheers.